under the flickering glow of a television screen and the soft shuffle of trading cards. Two legendary worlds, each with their own pantheon of heroes, stories, and imagination, prepare for an unprecedented union. Tonight, we step boldly into the nexus where spell and story intertwine, a place where Magic the Gathering and Final Fantasy, titans of their genres, cross the boundaries of medium and memory to become something wholly new. This is Untapped Potential. Picture it. A planeswalker draws a hand shimmering with possibility, and from the swirl of mana emerges an unmistakable silhouette of a chocobo. The rallying call of Cloud Strife echoes amid the timeless wisdom of Nicole Bolas. In the meeting of the legends, materia pulses with a power reminiscent of the Black Lotus, while limit breaks, like Omnislash, are countered much like life points, all within the shifting landscape of an ever-expanding multiverse. For fans of Final Fantasy, this crossover wasn't merely an intriguing collaboration. It was an invitation, a portal, to which they could step through from the familiar contours of Spira or Midgard into a vast, untamed plains of Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering fans unite in all sorts of places, living rooms, convention halls, and cafes, drawn together by the thrill of strategy and storytelling. They shuffle their decks, not just as players, but as planeswalkers, exploring new worlds with every draw. Each card is a story, each match a chance to chase victory, to forge friendships, and trade tales of epic wins and narrow defeats. The game always changes, keeping fans excited for new sets and strategies. Community, it means everything, with Friday Night Magic, tournaments, and the joy of welcoming newcomers. More than a game, Magic is a legacy of imagination, hope, and possibility, kept alive by those who gather, dream, and play. In this episode, we interview Planeswalkers who are lifetime players or have just discovered the game through the Final Fantasy collaboration. So, shuffle your decks, ready your party, and prepare to discover what happens when legends unite and Magic becomes more than a game. It becomes a legacy shared by all who dare to dream. The story begins now.
We're talking Final Fantasy specifically because of the Magic the Gathering collab, right? And one of the things that I think is super cool is that I'm sitting here with you talking about Final Fantasy, about to talk about Magic, and if it wasn't for this collab, we'd have no interaction ever. Our worlds would have never had crossed. So Final Fantasy and this collab with Magic has been something really cool and unique and different, and it's opened the doors for a lot of people to the world of Magic that had never thought about playing it before. And from what I understand, you're one of those people, right?
Yes, yes, I am. And I'm kind of scared at the door that I have opened because it is a universe, Magic the Gathering. It is such a universe. And it's funny because I've had friends who play, and it's kind of like D&D. I feel like Baldur's Gate really opened the door for D&D for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people, who play D&D, and I've been invited, but it's just not something I could commit to. But I'm the kind of person who I can't just like something normally. I have to make it my entire personality and obsess over it. And scarily, Magic is doing that for me, and 100% is because of Final Fantasy, because it's like I love Final Fantasy so much, and it's so like seeing those characters and what they do. I mean, it's so exciting. And I don't, I'm actually, so I have two commanders that they're my first ever, and it's the Cloud and the Terra deck. I'm learning how to play, so I really like the Cloud deck, and it's definitely a lot easier. And then I've been playing with the Terra deck a lot because it's way more advanced and it's way more complicated. And kind of how we were speaking earlier, it's just like I don't know. It's very overwhelming, but then when I find myself thinking about it a lot, it's very challenging. And I feel like that's something, and like I said, it's fun. We have good local card shops here, surprisingly. Because Charleston is not really a good hub for compared to like Hawaii. Like, you'll find so many people who love anime and characters. It has a huge, Japanese and Polynesian population. And then Charleston, South Carolina is just kind of, they're not like really big compared to like Charlotte or somewhere like that. So we have a really good local card shop, and like they're great, and then it's just, even just getting boosters, like I just love the cards and seeing the callbacks to like my favorite Final Fantasy, like seeing like Final Fantasy 8 characters, or like I pulled this is like the greatest thing that came in my booster right here.
I love it.
Apparently it's worth like $70 or something, and I'm just like, no, I will never get rid of that. Like I just love it so much.
Yeah, I actually, the card that you just showed, when I was going in through buying, I was trying to find commander decks, and I went to one of our local game shops, and they were sold out of everything, but they were selling individual cards, and they had that one, and they had it on sale for like $100 or $110, something like that. And the guy was trying to talk me into it, and I was like, I just can't justify that on one card.
Yep.
And but then I went off and bought $80 worth of booster packs.
Yeah.
So like the amount of I guess the amount of money that this has brought in for Magic has probably been pretty unreal. I think it's the largest collaboration that they've ever had, and I think it just speaks to the fandom of Final Fantasy.
No, actually, I had the same experience that you did. I ended up buying the cards because it was Final Fantasy, and now I was like me and my son tried playing a game the other day with whatever little knowledge we saw on YouTube and everything. I mean, I feel like we butchered the game. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were just, trying to get out there and see how to play. But same story that you just said. I saw the Final Fantasy collab, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to collect the cards. And then I got the cards, and I'm like, I want to try to learn to play the game.
Did you think you think you're going to enjoy the game? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, as soon as I tried it, I was like, this kind of reminds me of like a little bit of, like one of those Yu-Gi-Oh games, but also more chess-like, because you get these cards and you kind of build your own deck the way you want to, from what I'm thinking. And one card you could be losing, and then one card could extremely change the game, kind of like playing chess. But going back to what you were saying, I feel like any game could be great if the community is great, because we are creatures of being in a community. So I felt the same way when I was trying to learn how to play D&D. When everybody was really trying to get into it. But the fact that there were so many people who were like willing to like be so patient and be like, yeah, we can teach you and everything. And that just amplifies what's already great with those games, like what you were thinking with Magic the Gathering. Once you get a community that's willing to teach you and help you, that amplifies how great the game is by a lot.
A lot of irresponsible financial decisions in this journey. I have bought a lot of booster boxes, not even just the packs. I did buy them more when they were first released, so they were cheaper. They were probably like $180 at the time, which is still not amazing, But my husband and I collect Pokemon cards, so it's not out of pocket for us to buy a booster to open packs, because we would do that. And I bought him Destined Rivals, the booster, for his birthday, and he pulled the Mewtwo that everyone wants. So like, this is something we do. So to buy a bunch of Final Fantasy Magic cards that I don't even play the games, I don't play Pokemon, but just to buy those cards and like open them and get the cool ones, like that's something that is pretty universally understood for me and super fun, because who doesn't love opening packs? So that was kind of how we started. And then I was like, I have all these cards. Maybe I should learn to play. And our friends, we have two friends who they got into Magic about 6 months ago or so, and they play Commander with each other. And we had mentioned that, like, oh, like, we're going to pick up a Final Fantasy booster box that I pre-ordered, and you want to meet us at the store, and maybe you can, like, teach us how to play. So they brought their beginners kit. It's not the Final Fantasy one. It was just like the starter box, where you can kind of choose your own deck and, like, put them together. You have, like, a white, a blue, a red, a black. You can, like, pick 2 colors and put them together. And we learned how to play, and we downloaded Magic the Gathering Arena on our phones, and we're, like, trying to learn that way too and get all the cards and everything. And then we started playing Commander with each other, and that was fun. I have Tidus as the commander of one of my decks, and I have Tifa as the commander of my other deck. And I really enjoy it. We're probably going to play later today. And we'll probably meet up with our friends tomorrow and play 4-person commander, which is the first time we'll be doing that, which is crazy, very exciting. We've only played 3 max, and it'll be nice to do 4. Although my husband loves to politic with everyone, and he always is like, so if you don't kill me this turn, I think I can do something here, but it's really fun to be able to have someone to do that with. And I mean, my husband's my best friend, so, like, we get to do everything together anyway. And then this is so fun to take this journey with him and to learn how to play and to be humbled almost every time that I play, because I'm really bad at this game. Or I know it's the heart of the cards, I know, but, like, I think my cards hate me. I don't know. Last time I played, I got, like, 2 lands the whole game. It was embarrassing. I don't know what happened. Rough. But I do like playing, and I think Commander's really fun, and it's a really good way to spend time with our friends too.
Came back with Final Fantasy. I bought 2 of the pre-cons. I've got another one coming. I have the Terra and the Y'shtola one. So the 6 and the 14. And, like, I fell off of it for a bit, and then when Final Fantasy was, like, coming out, I'm like, well, now's the time to get back into Magic. And I, play with some of my friends on Mondays before D&D, and I'm going to try and get, like, a weekly, like, Wednesday night thing together with some friends. But using Magic and, like, Final Fantasy to kind of, like, rebuild friendships that have kind of fallen off is, like, so helpful. It's so good because, like, we don't have to, like, we can just show up and just shuffle up and play, and it's fun.
Like you, I had no interest in it. And then with these Final Fantasy cards, I started buying. I haven't bought any of the actual decks yet, but I've been buying the booster packs.
Yeah.
So
what do you think so far of like the cards and the artwork and things like that? To me, like, that's maybe the best part, because I told myself, because I wasn't even really planning on playing whenever I first started buying cards. I was like, at worst, I can just add these to my collection of stuff and be able to have the cool cards and the artwork. And then I kind of got interested in the game past that. What is it about the artwork and stuff like that you think speaks to so many people?
I think it's the fact that Wizards of the Coast, or whoever it is that makes Magic, I can't remember.
I think that's it, yeah.
They collaborated so well and so closely with Square Enix on so much of the artwork, and to make sure that they got the cards. And just talking, so I play a weekly Dungeons and Dragons game at a local game shop, and there's always people there playing Magic, talking about Magic, and the Final Fantasy cards have been a huge hit with that crowd. And just kind of listening to what they talk about, there's a lot of fans that they play the Final Fantasy and then they play Magic, and they talk about how each Final Fantasy card really feels like how that character should be in the games, or how they imagine that character. One of the things that I recently saw was about the Vincent card, and how it really feels true to who he is in the games, with his limit breaks being able to transform into various monsters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that they're really getting the characters right, which is helping the fans of, either game to sort of immerse themselves even more. And that's something that I have a lot of respect for them for.
There's a certain wonder in watching these two legendary worlds just intertwine together. We've seen Final Fantasy fans get into Magic because of this collab, but it's really cool to see Magic the Gathering fans getting into Final Fantasy because of this collab. Magic's strategy and lore, it inspires a fresh enthusiasm for Final Fantasy. And so the reverse journey isn't just cool, it's proof that how these stories and communities, they really do truly overlap. Drawing people from one beloved universe into another, expanding their horizons in ways that no one really expected.
So I've had some opportunity here and there to play bits and pieces of other games, but this set definitely inspired me to play a lot more of them. The one that I probably played the most past that was Final Fantasy 16. And that was a different experience entirely, because of course I was expecting turn-based like I had played with the other bits and pieces, and this one was very cinematic. It almost felt like a Devil May Cry or God of War style game, but with the Final Fantasy flavors to it. And I loved that. I loved that aspect of it, but I also kind of wanted the turn-based as well. It was a mixed bag of, I like this, but I also wanted that, right?
I think it's pretty interesting, for a lot of the people I've talked to, we've been focusing on like Final Fantasy bringing people into Magic, but for you, it kind of inspired you to play some of the Final Fantasy games, and kind of had the reverse effect, which is really cool. And I think for a lot of Magic fans, I would assume it probably has done a little bit of the same for them. So do you have a game, like a Final Fantasy game in mind that you're really looking forward to play that you haven't played yet?
100%. I'm looking forward to playing 7. I haven't played 7 all the way through before, and I've been telling my friends I've just bought recently 7 Rebirth and 7 Remake, and I want to play 7 first and then do the remakes and everything, just so I can get a feel for what the differences are in those games. But start with the older one because it came out when I was younger, and it's been years since I've actually put my hands on it. So
I love it. Final Fantasy 7 was my introduction to Final Fantasy back in, whatever year it came out, 1998, 7, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And so that was my introduction to the Final Fantasy franchise. Remake and Rebirth, I thought were excellent, remake versions of Final Fantasy 7. I thought that they both really did a great job of holding true to the spirit of Final Fantasy 7 while updating it with some of the tropes that you get with like Final Fantasy 14 and 16 and things like that, right?
So here's the big question. Why did this collaboration resonate so deeply? And why has it sparked so much excitement? At its core, it's about possibility. When two iconic worlds collide, boundaries blur and new stories emerge, inviting fans to reimagine their favorite characters in a fresh new way. The sheer size, however, of this collaboration, it isn't just about money. It's about merging passions, traditions, and creative energies. The blending of Magic the Gathering and Final Fantasy amplifies each universe, and it offers fans a richer tapestry to explore, discover, and to share. It's big because it's transformative, because it invites everyone to see what happens when imagination has no borders.
I will say, in terms of Magic the Gathering, it was so cool being a Final Fantasy fan and a Magic the Gathering fan. I went to 2 pre-releases that weekend because that was all that my local game store was having. They only had enough to do 2, and I was fortunate enough to get into both of them. And every time I sat down with somebody, it was such a cool conversation to be like, hey, are you a Final Fantasy fan or a Magic fan or both or neither? If neither, I don't know why you're here, but like, let's talk about it. And I would have a conversation as we're shuffling up to do the draft, and just meet new people and talk to them about what brought them in. And some people were like, oh, I've never played Magic before, but I love Final Fantasy and I'm hoping to get Vivi or Squall or whomever, right? Other people were like, I'm not really into Final Fantasy, but I love Magic the Gathering, so I wanted to check out the new set. And there were some people, such as myself, who's like, I'm so stoked to be here. Like, this is so good. Final Fantasy and Magic, let's go, And so I think that was such a cool experience. And I will admit, it did color my most recent pre-release that I went to a little bit more negatively because I didn't quite have that same hook, right? I do want Magic to be Magic, and I do want Final Fantasy to be Final Fantasy, but combining the two of them really made for a special weekend.
When you're talking about Final Fantasy, we talked about Magic. Are you a Magic fan?
I mean, yeah, I've been playing Magic since 1994.
Okay.
And I'm literally after this, I'm grabbing lunch and going to the game store.
Nice.
Magic is a big thing for us in our household. Magic is I would say it's probably my major hobby at this point in my life. It's been for a long time, playing since the 90s. Half of the guests at my wedding were people from Magic. Like, it's a big, heavily ingrained thing for our household. And I remember exactly where I was when they announced the FF and Magic Universes within or beyond. I was at a friend's house and we were crashing, and we had just come back from a pretty bad experience at a game store, actually, but that's neither here nor there. And so we were sitting there and we were eating dinner, and I was on my phone, and we saw that, and I remember saying, "Oh, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to probably blow like $500-600 on that. We better just make sure we earmark it." And sure enough, I spent about I want to make this clear. I purchased about $580 worth of product. It was trade-ins. I did not drop that out of pocket. I had things ready to go to trade in to make sure that I could responsibly indulge this because I knew it was coming, right? So yeah. I had store credit waiting. But the point is, like, I knew from that second, and I remember being like, that's probably what it's going to have to be for me to cover everything, because there's so many games I'm going to want to focus on, so many characters I'm going to want to build decks around. Like, there's no way for me to just have a taste of it. I have to have a little bit of everything.
See, I get all that. Like I told you earlier, this is my first introduction to Magic, and I saw the Final Fantasy stuff. I pre-ordered a starter kit because I just didn't know what else. Never played before.
Where to start, right?
Then that turned into hunting down commander decks, and that turned into, well, now I got to have a place to keep my cards, and then so buying sleeves and buying cases, and it got out of hand pretty quick for me, and so. One of the things that I love the most about it, we kind of talked about it earlier, was just the artwork behind it. I think the artwork on the cards are so unique that's what was like, okay, even if I never play a game of Magic in my life, like, I'll have the cards and I can appreciate the artwork and things like that comes with them. But what do you think, really, I mean, we talked a little bit about Final Fantasy, we talked a little bit about Magic. Why was this collab so big?
So we've actually been talking about this in my house here with my spouse. We've been talking about it a little bit here and there. Like, I think that when it comes to the efforts they've done with, like, the universes beyond, there are some that have been more of a niche thing. Like, when I say niche, I don't mean to say that those fandoms are small. They're not.
Yeah.
But the crossover between what's already in Magic and what is not is much smaller. Like, for example, Doctor Who is a very huge, prolific franchise, but not every Magic player is a Doctor Who fan. There are new Doctor Who fans because of the Doctor Who release. There are new Magic players because of the Doctor Who release. When it comes to Final Fantasy, you'd be hard-pressed to not find someone who was already kind of familiar with and a fan of both. Many, many, many Magic players, especially Magic players who came into the games in the 90s and 2000s, which is a lot of players, grew up also playing PlayStation 2, and therefore that would have been one of the major titles of the time. I also think it's because, when we were talking about this specifically, is Final Fantasy is not a single fandom. It's like 20 fandoms, right? Because, like, so you're pulling in interest from your Final Fantasy 1 fans, your Final Fantasy 4 fans, your Final Fantasy 7 fans, your Final Fantasy 15 fans. You have your very sad Final Fantasy Tactics fans right now. Like, you know. Yeah. But my point is, you are bringing in multiple fandoms that interlace with each other. And Final Fantasy has already established itself as kind of a franchise that, I mean, like, Triple Triad exists. There's already kind of an idea of play cards with your Final Fantasy characters.
Yeah.
And there's also quite a collector's, we'll say, fervor there, Final Fantasy fans will already buy up quite a bit that just has a Final Fantasy character on it, right? Whereas other franchises may not do that. Like, for example, Warhammer fans have their Warhammer armies and their terrain, and that's where their money goes. They're not really buying Warhammer merchandise, right? They don't, maybe a shirt, maybe a hat, but they're not really looking to get collectibles. The game pieces are enough. For Final Fantasy, there are fans that it's very similar to like the Pokemon TCG and to some degree like the Lorcana TCG, where fans who would never touch a card game in their life would own the cards because they want a beautiful collectible that they can display of a favorite character. And if it's a character that never got much merch, like for example, if you are a fan of, well, like for me, like I love Setzer Gabiani. He's my favorite Final Fantasy character. There's not much merch of him. Having like a foil showcase Setzer that you can put in a slab and be like, hey, there's my Setzer collectible card. Like, there you go. That sold the set to the guy who wanted the Setzer card, or the guy who wanted the Kina Ken, or the guy who wanted the Freya Crescent, or the guy who wanted the Fang from Final Fantasy 13. Whatever. You just now sold that pack to that person.
I think there's a couple of ways to answer that question. You can answer that question as a Magic the Gathering player, and then you can answer that question as a Final Fantasy fan. And luckily I'm both, right? So the Final Fantasy answer is, I think, when the Final Fantasy card game got announced, I was very excited because I was like, I love Final Fantasy, I love card games, this makes perfect sense. But when I played the game, I wasn't in love with the mechanics. I wasn't in love with the artwork. I wasn't in love with just how the game was, like how it played, how it worked. So it's kind of a little bit of a letdown for me. I'm not trying to crap on people who enjoy the game.
Yeah,
it's just not my cup of tea, right? But now with Universes Beyond and Magic the Gathering, like the Magic the Gathering formula is so tried and true. It's so tested. It has such a legacy for being what it is as a card game, and just integrating Final Fantasy into it just seemed like such a seamless transition, and it made so much sense. And I love the fact that the developers of this set paid attention to the cards that they were making, because like I said, a lot of the flavor is very spot on. Like Squall, for example, right? Squall is Orzhov, so he's black-white. Like, those are his colors. He has no synergy with any of his party members in the game. They're all like either blue-green or red, or there's no synergy. Why? Because his whole character shtick is he was a lone wolf. He wanted nothing to do with anybody else. He wanted to take care of everything on his own, until later on in the game where he started opening up, and that's why he has his ability where he connects damage-wise, he can bring creatures back out of the graveyard. So I think flavor-wise, it just makes so much sense. Selfishly, I would have loved him to be black, white, and blue, because blue is my favorite color in Magic because of all the countering. And it just makes sense because Squall, you think ice, so you think white ice, you think blue water. But, I digress. But other than that, the only thing that bothers me, again, about the Magic and Final Fantasy crossover is the Squall commander, right? Why does he have haste printed on him? For the life of me, I don't remember haste being that important of a spell in Final Fantasy VII, but I remember haste being the most important spell that Tidus got access to in Final Fantasy X. So for me, if anything, Tidus should have had haste printed on him and not Cloud. But I totally get it. It's Cloud. He's like everybody loves Cloud. He's the most popular character. Sure, why not? But
as I'm very new to the game and learning the mechanics, I do think I'd agree with you on that, because the amount of times that haste got me out of it, out of a bad jam in Final Fantasy X, you would think that would be attached to that character, here. But no, I get it. And I just, everything you talked about is the reason why I'm super excited about my journey into Magic the Gathering and trying to figure this thing out.
One of the biggest things I've seen with this Final Fantasy collaboration that you're doing literally is that it's nothing more than a money grab for Wizards. Wizards of the Coast has been around a very long time. They were also one of the first companies to make Pokemon cards. They don't need money. I promise you that. They don't need it. Yeah. They also do like D&D. D&D's been around longer than both.
Yeah.
So, like, and people are saying it's just a money grab. This whole universe is beyond thing. It's just a money grab for Wizards. I'm like, no. I think this is a company actually finally truly listening to its people and saying, hey, make collaborations.
Yeah.
There's all these other universes out here of things you could combine with, and people would like it would bring more and more people in. And I think that's what we've been seeing. Like you were saying yourself, you had never played Magic until this collab came out, and now you're playing Magic.
Yeah.
I think one of your videos I saw last week you posted, I think you were at an LGS store playing a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is something I would have never thought I would have been doing with my life. Like, I never had even thought about it.
It's a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I'll say the it was so much fun, right? Like, it ended up spending like almost 3 hours in total there. And like, by the time we left, I was like, half my day is gone from just sitting there playing Magic. But it was such a fun afternoon, And the only other time really I can think of that I could just spend hours doing something that felt like it just was nothing was either when I played sports growing up or when I played video games. I never once thought about playing Magic my entire life. Final Fantasy does its collab. I'm like, I'm all in. I want to learn how to play Magic. I want to learn about the game.
Love that.
And I think it's because one, these stories and these characters have such a special place in our heart, but because they are one-off stories. Because you have sequels to games and stuff like that, but Final Fantasy VII is very different than Final Fantasy VIII, different than 9, different than 10, and because we love these characters so much, it gave us new artwork. It gave us new merchandise. It gave us new, honestly, really kind of in a way new storylines with how the cards play out and things like that. That we got to go back and revisit these characters again. I've replayed Final Fantasy VII countless times, and although there are still times I pick up new things when I go along, the fact is when I start the game, when I end the game, it's the same game.
Yeah.
But being able to go and pick up, a Cloud and Sephiroth starter kit and it opening a new world there, I just think that's why people have fallen in love with it. So, are you much of a Magic fan? Have you ever played? And what do you think of this collab?
Yeah. So I think I started Magic in 4th edition, way back in the day. Shout out to White Border Cards. I'm a big fan. I know it's divisive. Not a lot of people like them, but I think they're cool. So whatever, come at me. So I played for a while. I got out around the Eldrazi block, the first Eldrazi block. I did not care for Annihilator, and I felt like it made the game less fun. So I was like, time to put this aside and whatever. But it was the Viking set that got me back into the game, and I've been in since Kaldheim. But Final Fantasy, if I had been out of the hobby, Final Fantasy would have brought me back in. I spent way too much money on it, if I'm being honest. I bought most of the stuff that I wanted or felt like I needed to have. I'm building a bunch of decks out of it. A lot of the commander decks that I already had are being retrofitted to include a Final Fantasy commander. And I'm keeping, some Magic the Gathering stuff like separate from Final Fantasy as well. But no, it absolutely, if Magic and Final Fantasy hadn't had their hooks in me already, it probably would have gotten me regardless, right? I like both of them separately. So chocolate and peanut butter, I got a Reese's cup. Like what's not to love? It was the perfect marriage for me. I loved Lord of the Rings. I do love Lord of the Rings, and I liked the Lord of the Rings set. I thought it was incredible, very well done. And I was very impressed by it. But I think Final Fantasy, even more so, is just such a love letter. And it's not perfect. There's some things that are a little bit off, about certain directions and certain designs. I do kind of wish, as a quick aside, that they hadn't made it standard legal. Personally, I think that, or it either should have been standard only or it should have been commander only, in my view, because designing for both of those sets together does make some characters kind of get the short end of the stick, right? So Freya Crescent is one of my favorite Final Fantasy IX characters. She's this Dragoon rat. She's incredible. And her card is very useful in equipment decks in Magic the Gathering, but it's not what I would have wanted for her. I don't want her to be just a synergy piece. I would have loved for her to have been able to stand on her own as a commander, right? Or or not have like the Cloud examples or the Sephiroth examples where I'm like, that card's great in Commander. Why aren't you like this, Freya? Like, what's the deal? I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a direction chosen as opposed to trying to split the middle. That being said, it's such a great set. I'm so glad that you got into it, honestly.
For one, Magic is very imaginative, right? Final Fantasy has always broken that boundary of being like, we're not going to put it right in your face, but you can imagine the process of what's going on here, right? So I think the difference being that Magic and Final Fantasy kind of have that imaginative approach to everything. And I think a lot of it is, for one, the artwork, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You can't beat that kind of artwork on Magic cards. And then you got people like us who grew up, I wouldn't say early in the Final Fantasy time frame, but breaking that cusp of, hey, your first game is Final Fantasy VII, the one that's basically a PTSD trip in itself, right? You got emotional breakdowns, environmental issues, just things that we go through day to day in a game. And you could put it out there and be like, okay, this makes sense because, we're killing the earth. we got troubles ourselves, and the main character himself going through, mental crisis most of the game. I think it kind of sticks with you because it's almost like a trauma bond. You know what I'm saying? It's very much one of those things that stick with you because of it's something you can relate to.
Leaving behind the familiar echoes of Final Fantasy, you find yourself drawn into the intricate layers of Magic the Gathering, where every card is a portal and every strategy a new possibility. The transition is exhilarating. What once felt like a distant, mysterious landscape quickly becomes vibrant and alive as you build your first deck, read the abilities, and feel the thrill of the unknown. There's a genuine thrill in letting go of what you know and embracing a new kind of Magic. One that asks you to think differently, to play boldly, to learn with every encounter, and yet the heart of the journey remains the same. It's all about connection, creativity, and the shared joy of discovery. As we dive headfirst into Magic, we realize we're not just learning a new game. We're becoming a part of a living, breathing world where every play is a chance to shape your own legend. Thank you again for sitting down with me, kind of chat with me about Magic the Gathering. Through the course of this docu-series, I have really found that the Magic community has been extremely kind and opening, and I don't know, I wasn't quite expecting that, and I've known you for years now, and I had no idea you were a Magic player, and so it's all pretty surprising to me. So I appreciate you taking time and sitting down with me and kind of talking about Magic the Gathering. So let me just start with your experience with Magic. So how did you first discover Magic, and what was your first initial impressions?
I mean, I got into it in college, so 2011-ish probably. A lot of folks in my residential hall played down in the lobby, and it was nice because there were a lot of people would hang out in the lobby, and just little groups of friends doing different things. Sometimes they'd have a game station, or some sort of game on the TV, or people playing Magic. So for a while, I just kind of hung out and watched, and was just like, what is this? Because I during school, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'd never really gotten into that.
Yeah.
I never grasped the whole process. But then in college, actually had the chance to sit down, watch games, and join in finally. And like you said, very welcoming community. There were a few folks who had been playing for a long time, and they just had huge card collections.
Yeah.
So when someone was really interested, they're like, look through all my stuff. I've got plenty. I will just give you. And then if you find some stuff that's a little more expensive, we'll price that out. And you can just have the rest with it and pay me like $10 for that 1 or 2 cards that actually are worth something. And then
great.
that started my collection, was just picking through other people's stuff they were trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
And then get a better price from me than from a card shop. So
I have aspirations to definitely get to that point with my collection, to be able to like help other people who want to get into it. I gotta tell you though, it's been a pricey endeavor.
Oh,
and
yeah, for sure.
I think that's in large part because of this huge collab between Final Fantasy and Magic, and that's the whole kind of basis of what got me into to Magic. And so, the idea behind what I want to do is I want to eventually be able to compete competitively and things like that. But I had to play my first match, and thankfully, with you, I had a friend who knew how to play, and I mean, you whooped my ass. My first match.
You hung in there, and we were both playing pre-cons, so neither of us knew what the decks really were.
But I gotta tell you, like for me, that was the moment it finally clicked, and I realized like I really enjoyed this game. It was like the spark that really got me kind of invested. So for you, like I know you talked about back in 2011 is when you kind of started playing. Was there a moment that you can remember that where it just kind of clicked, and you were like, okay, not only do I get the game, but like I'm really interested in this now?
I mean, I think when I started, I started when it was like Avacyn and Ravnica, kind of that realm of sets came out. And we had a local game shop that did all of those. He would do multiple pre-releases, like a Saturday and a Sunday one. So a lot of my group that I was playing with, we'd all go. Because sometimes it can be a little intimidating being like the one person going into a game shop, not knowing anyone. But when it's a whole friend group that goes, you're like, okay, I may or may not compete against you, but at least I've got buddies to hang out with.
That's very true. I'm actually glad you said that, because I have yet to be able to go to my local game shop and on the nights where they play. And I've built my career being an extrovert in a world where like I had to be out there for my management career and things like that. And even I'm like, ooh, I don't want to know. I don't think I want to go in there to be the only one by myself who doesn't know how to play. But through the course of me doing these interviews with people and kind of the short journey that I've had so far with Magic the Gathering, I've realized that like you have to put yourself out there. I don't have a very large social media following. But when I posted a video about, are you a fan of Final Fantasy? Are you a fan of Magic? I'd love to be able to talk to you. I was flooded with people. Was like, hey, like not only people telling me like, hey, here's some advice, good luck on your journey, but people wanting to be interviewed and just have conversations about Magic and about Final Fantasy. And I don't know. I think the community has been really great so far. So yeah, you definitely got to put yourself out there if you're wanting to be engaged and involved in the community. But also there's things like Magic Arena that I've been playing that has really kind of helped teach me the mechanics of the game. I think today we're going to play another hand, and I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared. You're probably going to still beat me pretty handily, but I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared. So, but when it comes to social media and like just our social lives in general, for you, you said you started in college and you probably made a good, strong friend group and that and stuff like that. How would you actually say that Magic really influenced like your social life, like especially when you were in college and things like that?
I mean, there were definitely folks that I met through that I otherwise wouldn't have. I ended up actually getting a job because of it, because the game shop was right next to a consignment store.
Oh,
and
nice.
I ended up working there. They didn't last very much longer because the rent there was super expensive, but I was there for about a month or two. But yeah, I mean, it was a little hole in the wall, but definitely made some friends through there, and we hung out.
To me, that's kind of the hope that I have behind it, is be able to introduce myself to new people and make new friends and stuff like that. Are there any aspects about Magic that you feel like could be improved? I know that you had a little bit of time where you weren't involved in playing Magic, and then, you helping me kind of learn the game has kind of, got you back into playing. Is there anything that like you wish that could be done better when it comes to Magic?
I mean, it's been around so long. They've tried so many things, so I don't know. I haven't been deep enough into it to really give a good answer on that front.
That's fair.
I know I just fell out of it because, like, I left college, I moved here, I no longer had a friend group to play with.
Yeah.
And then I started playing D&D and Starfinder with a different friend group, and they all most of them played Magic and 1 or 2 learned, so
Yeah.
we would play a little bit. That got me back in a few years ago, and like dusted everything off and kind of looked through everything, bought some singletons, retooled some decks. That's usually what gets me back into it first. Is like I'll just pull out everything and look through my decks and resort stuff. Maybe pull apart a deck entirely and cannibalize it, and make something new. Find a different commander, because that's 99% of what I play is Commander, unless I'm at a game shop playing a pre-release or something.
I gotta tell you, the commitment it takes, especially with time, to sort through your cards and to just sleeve your cards and protect the sleeves and stuff like that. Like, when I got home last night, I ended up buying 2 commander decks last week and a couple of booster packs. And I don't feel like I was back in my office for too long, but my little boy came back there and was like several times, "Are you done? Are you done? Like, why are you playing with your cards again? Like, are you done?" Like, man, I'm not even playing. I'm just trying to sort them, And so it really is. And so, but I'm fortunate because I feel like I got structured and organized early, so now it's just about maintaining it, so
because if you just let it be a mess, I'll sometimes do that where like I get a handful of packs, or like I don't buy boxes anymore, but when I was doing the pre-releases I would, because you could get special prices on them, or if you did really well in the tournament you'd get a discount or be given one. I think I placed once ever. I usually don't do that well. But like you'll get given freebies, some booster packs, or even a box or something. It just depends on what the game shop has, what kind of their resources are.
Well, my ultimate goal is to be a Magic the Gathering world champion.
Nice.
And I don't know how long it'll take me to get there, but there is a $100,000 grand prize for the winner. So
there's a lot of money,
I can buy a lot of cards with $100,000. I think one of the coolest
go
things,
right back into it.
one of the coolest things that they do, if you win a world championship, is that they actually immortalize you on a Magic card that gets circulated out for print, and so that would be pretty cool. And for a lot of my selfies, I have like an iconic like open mouth smile, so the card's definitely gonna be like. So, I think it would be really cool. Okay, so a couple more questions to kind of wrap up the interview. I think what intimidated me most about getting into Magic was just how complex the game appeared to be. And I think as I started to learn some of the basic mechanics, it started to click. I still don't know everything. I watch videos.
They always release new mechanics that you have to learn, and if it's not written on the card, you got to look it up.
Yeah.
But usually just RTFC.
So, do you think there are any certain stereotypes though about Magic the Gathering that like you've either encountered or that you've known people who've encountered that like were false stereotypes that they just assumed going into it that kept them from playing?
I mean, as a female, I know like it's not typical that a girl plays Magic. It's not typical that a girl plays D&D or you know does a lot of this stuff. But it's just like with cosplay, it's become so much more mainstream. Now, like nerds are everywhere and anyone. And I think like when I was first getting into it, it was starting to shift. But there were definitely some card shops where I'd walk in and it's just like, girl. And you're like, nope, out, I'm done. So like when you're very first starting, you're already kind of overwhelmed even just walking into any card shop. Like this one's really nice and clean and welcoming. They've got food and stuff. And like Edmund Unplugged, good job, very welcoming. Right on a main street, anyone can walk past and check it out.
We were to that point right before we walked in. When we met you this morning, there were an elderly couple that had walked by and was like, let's check it out, let's walk in. And it
board games, I've got something for everyone.
And I'll tell you that like I agree with you. I think that is definitely a stereotype that has been out there. And one of the things that I would encourage is now with the world of social media, there's so many different platforms that you can find a group that you're comfortable with. You can find a local game shop that you're comfortable with. You can find, because there are still the stereotypical game shops you walk in and it's a bunch of us nerds. But there are also places like here, like Unplugged, or even just small friend groups and social media, Facebook groups that you can join to be able to be a part of a community and find players that you're comfortable with. I would
say now, like a lot of the newer shops that have opened up, in like the last 10, 15
Yeah.
years. You know, they are different. They
Yeah.
feel a lot more, I don't know, gender neutral.
Yeah.
You come in and, you know, you can just come in, chat with the person behind the counter, find what you need, and, you know, find someone to play with. It has shifted for sure because everything's becoming more, you know,
Yeah.
more mainstream. Like, it's been around for a few decades now.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and it's more welcoming
Yeah.
for sure.
Last question for you. In your experience with Magic and over the years you've been playing, is there a more memorable experience or positive experience that really stands out for you, like something that when you look back at the last 10, 15 years of you playing, you're just like, man, those were great memories, or that was something that was really cool that happened to you? Is there anything that stands out?
So my old play group in college, there was one person, which he's the person that I got a lot of cards from, but he usually kind of dominated the play group. He was both competitive play and casual play.
Yeah.
And it got annoying, just always being wiped by this dude.
Yeah.
And I eventually built an Una deck, which is blue, black, mill, flyer, flying fairies and everything. And it never beat him, but I made it annoying enough that he hated playing against it. And that was considered a win for me.
That's fair.
It's like, if I can at least be a thorn in your side, I've done my job. I'm still gonna beat you, but cool.
I love that. That is my goal as I start out, knowing that I'm going to get my ass kicked a lot. Like, as long as I can just make it miserable for you, then
or at least
fine.
Like fun but miserable, because that's what it was. It was a goofy deck. It was some control and counter spells, but like I mentioned before we started, like, I've never been a blue or a red player all that much. When I was doing the pre-releases, I've got little stickers from the 3 I did. It was like Selesnya, Simic, and then one was Izzet, and that's not my play style at all. I'm not that like fast, mostly sorceries type of player and instance. I'm very creature heavy typically, and tokens and counters and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that deck had more counter spells than usual for me, at least. It still wasn't counter heavy, so like, it was a reasonable deck by most playgroup standards, but it was enough that it annoyed him.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, hey, thank you for taking the time with me. Thank you for meeting me up here and us just being able to go over a little bit of Magic together. And I say we cut the interview off and go ahead and play.
All right.
Sound good?
Play.
All right. The act of entering Magic the Gathering is an embrace for both challenges and possibility. It's an invitation to explore, to grow, to connect. You know what? I'm going to go off script here. So, if you can't tell, I'm a terrible reader. I've been writing out what I wanted to say, and I've been reading it like a teleprompter. And at this point of the documentary, we've talked about people's entry points into Final Fantasy, and we've talked about what their love is for the game and how it transitioned them into playing Magic the Gathering and got them to open their world to a whole new game within Magic. I want to talk about for a second, I just want to be real. I've been really focused on the people and the great interviews I've been able to have with all these fans, and I've been staying out of it as much as I can just so that their voices could be louder. But I want to say for a second that this collaboration with Final Fantasy and Magic, it wasn't just about the sales, it wasn't just about the stories, it wasn't just about what cool artwork they could throw on the cards. It was about the fans. And every once in a while in retail, you get an opportunity to be able to collab 2 different brands together and bring those fans together for what ultimately becomes something super special. And that's what Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering got to do with this collab. Magic is going to go on and do collabs with other brands and create other decks like Spider-Man that's coming out, rumors of Legend of Zelda or Star Trek, and Final Fantasy is going to go on to make another 16 games and other collaborations with other trading card companies or video games or whatever it might be, right? Both of these brands are going to go their own way, and will they meet together again for another collaboration? Maybe. Who knows? We'll be able to see. But what this journey between their 2 collaborations did was it brought community together. It brought me in touch with several Final Fantasy fans who I had never met before in my life, with Magic the Gathering fans who I had never met before in my life, and allowed us to create a small little community of not only shared interests but support. And I will tell you, I'm incredibly thankful, because the ultimate purpose of this documentary was to document my journey from a person who had never played Magic the Gathering before to a future Magic the Gathering world champion. And I can't finish this episode moving into my Magic journey without thanking every single person that has been a part of this so far, because we are 3 months removed from the time I asked them to interview for this to the time that this episode we're watching is finally airing, and the amount of times that they have still messaged me to lend support, to share my content, to talk to me about Magic cards and how to build my deck, and to help me become a better player. That is the part of this collaboration that I don't think Final Fantasy nor Magic the Gathering expected. This part of the collaboration is what made it special. We love Final Fantasy. We love Magic the Gathering. We love each other. Like, we're building friendships. We're building bonds. We are building support. And I will tell you, in a world that desperately tears that apart, this collaboration did the exact opposite.